What is going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by Mike Beck. He's back, making a regular appearance here now on the Bottom Line View. It's becoming a regular appearance for Mike, and being a Steelers fan, it's going to be an interesting perspective for him on the future of the AFC North, which is the Cleveland Browns, who win their first game since the 2016 season. 0-16 last year, 1-15 the year before. At least they won a game this year. And it looks like they're going to be picking up more victories this year as the year goes on. They should probably already be 3-0, but enough of that. They won the game tonight. They beat the Jets. The final score was the Cleveland Browns 21, the New York Jets 17. Quite a few storylines in this game. As the title reads, Baker Mayfield debuted in this game to face Sam Darnold of the New York Jets. So we're going to compare the two performances in this game, talk about each team, talk about what they're going to be like going forward this season, and also just everything we saw from the game. Mike, what'd you take away? What was the biggest takeaway from this game for you? And also, did you enjoy the game? Did you have fun with it? And what'd you think about the game?
I guess the biggest takeaway is I don't think Tyrod Taylor is going to make another start in the NFL. He looked bad. Like, even when he was healthy, he was not playing very well. But other than that, it was a great game. No, I'd say it's a great second half. I'll take that back because there's some bad quarterback and O-line play really hampered that first half. But Baker Mayfield coming in and you're getting that first little action between the two highest picked quarterbacks in this past draft going at it between Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold made it pretty exciting. Baker Mayfield's legit. He looked good. He had some zip on the ball. His throwing motion is beautiful. His mechanics were great. Like, the team played better the second he stepped on the field. Mm-hmm. This is their guy. I think Cleveland finally did it. They finally found a quarterback. Holy smokes.
They finally did it. They went through, I could probably go forever. They haven't really had a quarterback since the 80s.
And even then, that's not even the same Browns team as it is today.
Yeah.
That Browns team plays in
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
That's a different organization altogether because they became Baltimore and Cleveland was brought back from the dead. And they went through quarterbacks like Brady Quinn and Brandon Whedon and Derek Anderson,
Charlie Fry, Holcomb,
Deshaun Kaiser. There are so many. Tim Couch. It goes on and on and on and on and on. But finally, we've got to Baker Mayfield. And the interesting storyline about this game is comparing the quarterbacks, looking at the two quarterbacks, seeing how they played, because these are two quarterbacks that I believe will both be in the league for a long time. When I looked at the draft class this year, I really felt like all of the quarterbacks that were talked about going into the first round, which I believe all of them did end up going in the first round, all five of them. I just felt like they were all going to be legitimate quarterbacks in the NFL. And it was very tough to rank all of them. They all had their own set of skills. They all had their strengths. They all had their weaknesses. I personally thought Baker Mayfield was going to be a little bit better than Sam Darnold. Actually, I had Sam Darnold closer to the bottom of the five, interesting enough, just because, and I think we saw it a little bit in this game, and we're going to talk about the future of both quarterbacks in a little bit, but I just feel like Baker Mayfield, the something special that's just hard to kind of quantify when you put him on the football field, and it's hard to scout and it's hard to watch tape to really see, is his passion for the game, his leadership, and those are things that really only a GM or a guy that knows him or a teammate can really attest to and really speak on. So, as a viewer or as a fan, you can't really get to know a player like that. I also do believe Sam Darnold has those qualities, but that's, to me, what I think made the Browns go out there and pick him first overall. He has great confidence. He leads a team by example. He is a leader. And immediately, as soon as he stepped on the football field, he came out there, and even simple things like just his first completion or like a big run for his team, he'd go up and he'd dap him on the butt, hit him on the helmet, whatever it may be, and just like you're doing a good job. And just things that Tyrod Taylor doesn't really do. And I've been not necessarily a fan of Tyrod Taylor, but I've always been sort of a defender of Tyrod Taylor in the case that I believe he's been a decent starting quarterback. I don't think he's going to win you a Super Bowl or anything, especially with the Cleveland Browns, but he's not a terrible quarterback. But instantly, as Mike said, as soon as Baker came on the field, there was just a level of play that rose. And it wasn't only the product on the field in terms of Baker being the better thrower of the ball or anything like that, but it was also just the belief that the Browns could actually win this football game. And they came back 14-0. Who would have thought that the Browns ever had the capacity to do that? So they came back 14-0 on the Jets, and the Jets looked like they were going to steamroll them at the beginning of the game when it was 14-0. 2 touchdowns from Isaiah Crowell, who ends up having kind of an up and down game overall. Let's get into the performances, though, and the stars of the game. Let's just go to Mike. Mike, who did you think were like the 3 stars of the game for you? Maybe 1 defensively, a couple offensively. Who are the guys that really stood out?
Well, clearly Baker Mayfield. The game changed the second he stepped on the field. Myles Garrett proved to me that he is the second best pass rusher in the league right now. I think Khalil Mack is the top guy. I could like talk about that for a while, but I think Myles Garrett really asserted himself as this is his league. Get out of his way. Other than that, like on the Browns side of things, I wasn't too impressed by their offensive line. They were really streaky. Their interior 3 aren't bad, but their tackles struggle at times. Njoku didn't really get a lot of passes. Jarvis Landry looked way better when Baker Mayfield was in the field. Like he actually had the ball actually thrown to him a lot better. So that would be my other guy. Schobert on the defensive side of the ball again would have been another star. He came up with that game-winning interception at the very end, but he is another guy that gets tackles in quantity. He is all over the field, and really some of that isn't talked about too much, even though he made the Pro Bowl last year. On the Jets side of the ball, Crowell, he stood out to me. Same with Powell. Both the running backs at times in the game played pretty well. Sam Darnold really was not impressive. The Jets O-line didn't really give him a lot of time to throw. Defensive side of the ball, I still don't see much from the Jets. They really kind of stood back. But again, the last guy, we talked about him a little bit on our Twitter conversation, Denzel Ward. He is a turnover beast and a really good young corner. He's someone who's going to develop into the conversation of the Jalen Ramsey of the world, being one of the top corners in this league.
Yeah. Just on the Denzel Ward thing, I think I was not really as high on him in the draft as some others. I still thought he was probably the best corner in the draft, but I didn't really think he deserved to go as high as he did. And the main reason I thought that was because I didn't really ever see him when I watched him really make plays that he's been making. I always saw him kind of cover guys well and be close in the vicinity of receivers and always be tight in coverage, but not necessarily having the ball skills that we've seen from him, or like just making plays and reactions to plays and just stripping the football out of the receiver's hands or getting his hands on the ball in terms of an interception. So Denzel Ward's definitely been really impressive so far in terms of his rookie season, and I think he's up in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year early on in the year. Myles Garrett, you're totally right. I tweeted it out. He's a top 5 defensive player in my mind right now in this league. I said before the year he was going to lead the league in sacks. He's on his way to maybe doing that. He has 4 right now. I think Von Miller also has 4. I think that's going to be a very tight race with also Khalil Mack in the conversation, but I think you can throw him right in there. These edge players that can just control the game, and he's great in all facets, and it's only his second season, and really it's not even he really hasn't even played like a full first season yet, because like he didn't play that much in his rookie season. So it's interesting. Just he is dominant. He is a man among boys, and you're definitely right. He's taken over the NFL.
With pass rushers, there's usually about one big name that comes in the league a year, and you typically know who they are before the draft. Khalil Mack was highly drafted. Joey Bosa, another guy, he's had some injury problems, highly drafted. Von Miller was a high first-round pick. Khalil Mack, already mentioned him. Myles Garrett, first overall, rather. And then, exactly. And then Nick Bosa, projected first overall pick this year. Like, it's a yearly thing when the pass rusher comes in, but it's so hard to get a guy like that. He is a talent that you want on your team, because when you take the time away from a quarterback, the playbook shrinks so much. It just really takes away from an offense and what they can do if you only have so long to throw the ball.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter who your corners are at that point. So
yeah.
And the Browns defense definitely been impressive so far this year. I think even better than some people expected, and some people expected this unit to be really good. Now on to a couple guys that came to the team this year in terms of the Browns. Carlos Hyde, Jarvis Landry. I thought both had really good games. Carlos Hyde, I think, Isaiah Crowell hasn't had a bad year for the Jets, but he's definitely been an upgrade over him, in my opinion. I just like the way he's been running. He trimmed down in the offseason. He looks better. He didn't have a bad year for the 49ers last year, but I just feel like he's kind of given some consistency to the position in Cleveland, as opposed to the years past. It's been a little bit up and down, and you don't really know who's been the guy there. But Carlos Hyde's really stepped up. 2 touchdowns in this game, 98 yards in this game, along with 22. Overall, just a really solid game. Runs really hard. He's not going to make any guys necessarily miss, but he can occasionally run you over, and he just runs really hard. Jarvis Landry, I think the most interesting thing we've seen from the Browns with Jarvis Landry is that they're actually throwing him the ball down the field instead of the Dolphins, and they even brought this up in the broadcast, is the Dolphins would send him screen passes, just routes over the middle, nothing over top, nothing down the field. It was all Jarvis Landry underneath. And actually today and in the past couple of games, we're actually seeing Jarvis Landry develop into more than just a slot receiver that catches underneath routes. What do you think about that development in terms of the Browns and taking that Jarvis Landry?
Well, Jarvis Landry is one of the most underrated receivers in the league, especially when he's in Miami. I think we're going to see it more and more brought in that conversation of one of the top 10 receivers, maybe even top 5 by the end of the year. He's a guy that catches passes in numbers. He is someone who can run the whole route tree. Like, when you get playmakers the ball, I can understand why Miami was running so many screens, especially when they've had their quarterback injuries with Ryan Tannehill kind of setting back the development almost. But when you get some consistency in the position, you didn't see it in the first half with Tyrod Taylor, but once Baker Mayfield stepped in the game, you saw the playbook kind of open up, the route tree kind of expand a little bit to more posts, corners, seams. You see him running down the field and actually getting the ball, gaining yards.
That was really interesting to me too.
Yeah.
That instead of the guy that's the veteran, I understand Tyrod Taylor's skill set is not throwing the football down the field accurately. Baker Mayfield has much better touch, much better accuracy, feel for the passing game than Tyrod Taylor.
Timing.
But it's just it's so weird just to see a rookie step in there and then the passing game be so much more open, and to seem like the Browns and Todd Haley were just able to unleash the playbook on the Jets when they really weren't able to in the first half.
Yeah, it's the one play that really sticks out in my mind from Tyrod Taylor in the first half is when Antonio Callaway was running a seam straight down the center of the field, torched the DB. I can't remember who the DB was, but Tyrod Taylor had the ball hanging up in the air for so long. It actually happened twice in the game. There's one in the end zone that some people thought was defensive pass interference. That wasn't. That was the right call that they didn't throw the flag. But the other one coming the other way down the field, when the ball just hung up in the air forever, Callaway had to slow down. The DB managed to get back and swat the ball away. And then Tyrod Taylor in the fourth quarter, Callaway again lined up on the left side of the field, running straight down the field on a go. Just throwing it almost the second he received the snap and just hitting him perfectly in stride. He dropped the pass, but that's the difference. Having a quarterback who's able to push the top off the defense is going to back the safeties up, open up your running game, and the underneath throws are going to become available. Even the screen game is going to expand even more. You got to have someone who can take the top off a defense, and that's what Baker Mayfield brings to the team.
I think the biggest thing, and I kind of teased this earlier, the biggest difference between what I liked about Baker Mayfield and what I didn't like about Sam Darnold was exactly that. I don't think Sam Darnold has the ability, the arm strength to make some of the throws that Baker Mayfield can. Like, immediately when Baker got in the game, you're like, damn, that's a hard ball he's throwing. Like, even the one in the back of the end zone, which was almost a pick, the guy couldn't catch it because the ball was too hard.
Yeah.
Like, he throws the ball hard, and you'd be surprised how hard this guy throws the ball. And Sam Darnold, you haven't seen him. I think this is the concern with Sam Darnold going forward with teams and into year 2 and stuff like that, when teams start to figure out that he struggles throwing the ball deep down the sidelines, I think teams are going to start to game plan for that and really sit on the underneath, which I think you even saw a little bit in the Browns game today. There's a reason why Robbie Anderson, who was one of the best deep threats last year, has barely been involved this year, because that's his thing, is going deep. And he really hasn't had an opportunity to do so this year because Sam Darnold can't really hit those throws, or they're not confident enough yet in putting him in that situation to make those throws.
Yeah. With Darnold in college, watching USC last year, he did throw a lot of checkdowns. I think that's kind of why the analysts were so high on Darnold, is because he was the safe quarterback. And in the NFL, there's almost the sense of instead of playing to win, they play not to lose. So instead of throwing those deep shots, they take the safe underneath route that you're going to gain 3-4 yards. Can you do that every single play? No, it's not going to work like that in the NFL. The playmakers are just too great on both sides of the ball. You got to be able to move a defense and make them have to play different coverages. You got to back the safeties up, and you got to get those linebackers moving. Once you're able to do that, you're able to really just do what you want almost on offense. Consistent long drives are the key to winning in this league, but the only way you're going to have those long drives is if you have a splash player or two in there where you're able to shift the field. If you're starting every single possession within your own 20-yard line, the other team starting near midfield, it's not going to be a good day for you. So you're going to have to be able to just really be able to open up your playbook. That's going to be kind of a theme, I think, for me in this video, is what Mayfield was able to do. Which, again, to your point, is crazy how Tyrod Taylor was not able to have the full playbook that Mayfield was able to work with. So that's going to be the key with the Browns moving forward. They could be a team that wins. I think they could possibly win 8 games this year, right around there. Could they win more? Maybe. If he develops even more during the year, they could potentially be better than that.
Maybe.
That's
one
my
guy he only had 4 catches for 20 yards. But I was impressed with Antonio Callaway. He definitely has some skills. He definitely has the ability to separate, which is the most important thing. He has speed, which, again, is going to just watch the Patriot-Jaguars game. There's a reason why the corners for the Jags are all pressing at the line. There's a reason why they don't have any safeties back, because they know that none of the receivers on the Patriots could have beat them deep to save their lives. So they're just sitting on their double teaming Gronk all game. They're sitting on the underneath stuff. Like, you need receivers that are able to separate downfield and get deep, because that changes the whole offense, just like Mike brought up with the quarterback to ability to do that. Like, it's the same thing. And that's the reason why a guy like Des Bryant doesn't have a job right now. He can't separate on routes and he can't run deep anymore. So it's just like Antonio Callaway. I think he has that. He just needs to fine tune a little bit, but I think he's actually going to be a pretty decent player.
He was 2 Tyrod Taylor mistakes and a drop pass away from having like a 180-yard game and like 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like that's the honest to God. If Taylor threw those balls a little bit sooner when he was still in stride, there's 2 touchdowns. And then the one down the sideline, there's probably a tackle by the corner, but still, that's like a 25-yard chunk play. That's what it boils down to. He's close. He could be a legit deep threat, like a Nate Washington type. If you remember him going every game, having like a catch of 60 yards plus. That was it's a niche in the NFL, but that's something successful teams all have.
Just turning to the defensive side of the ball for the Jets, Avery Williamson has been, I think, a really good ad for them at middle linebacker. They did lose, what's his name? Went to the Jets. Davis? Is it Davis?
No, he left the Jets.
Yeah. I'm blanking right now. But anyways, They got Williamson from the Titans. He's fit in quite well. He had 14 tackles in this game, 1.5 sacks, tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits. He's played like this every game that they've had him. I think the Jets defense does look a little bit better than last year. Sure, they did struggle at the end of the game, but I felt like at the beginning of the game, they were giving them a chance to win this game. Jamal Adams, I love. He's a stud. Morris Claiborne has struggled a little bit so far this year. I think Tremaine Johnson's been pretty solid and allowed them to do different things in terms of blitzing and stuff, just because of his ability to cover. But, I mean, this team in the Jets still has a while to go. I think they're still going to be competitive in the AFC East to finish maybe second in the division. But I I just don't think that they're a few pieces away, especially the offensive line. And you talked about the Browns offensive line. I thought both offensive lines were pretty bad. Especially like the tackle spots. Like the Browns left tackle spot is really bad, and the Jets tackle spots were kind of getting beat all day. So the offensive lines, I mean, there's a lot of bad offensive lines in this league. It almost seems like if you have a good offensive line, you're a good team automatically in this league right now.
Oh, no, I totally agree with that. It's kind of sad for the Browns. They've been the franchise of consistency with Joe Thomas for so many years, over 10,000 consecutive snaps. He was the best left tackle in the league over that span. So now it's kind of different for them, kind of losing that hurts. But I agree with you with both O-lines struggling. It was really apparent early when you have early young quarterbacks starting early in the season, you can kind of tell they're not really used to getting the pressure almost immediately, especially when they come from the big time schools. So just seeing like Darnold kind of just standing there in the pocket and getting smoked, but then again, Tyrod Taylor really kind of struggled getting rid of the ball as well. So that's a veteran making the same mistakes. So it's not really something that gets fixed during the year. That's an off-season problem. So that's going to be the one thing that's probably going to hold the Browns back. But with your point with the Jets being second in the AFC East, there's not really the ton of competition, I would say. Clearly,
Dolphins
the Patriots are the best team.
For sure.
The Dolphins are there, but I would say the Bills are probably the worst team in the league this year. They're my pick to finish dead last. So we'll see. Which
I also wonder how Josh Allen's going to develop this year, because I thought he played pretty well in his first game, all things considered.
He did, but his team is not good around him.
Horrible, which is why I wonder, like, if you switch Josh Allen and Sam Darnold, like, what would the story be right now?
Yeah, and if you're coaching that team, do you really want this kid that you invested such a high pick in getting beat up and like just ruining his confidence? That's something you got to think of. Like, would pulling him hurt more, or would playing him through the year? That was the whole thing with not
starting Baker. Do you now think that they should have started Baker in week 1?
I think, well, at least they should have started him at the beginning of this game because he was definitely better than Tyrod. Week 1, it was a monsoon against Pittsburgh, so that's probably for the best not to start him there, just because that's a game that it really kind of goes up in the air. But I think week 2 for sure, he was the best quarterback on the field tonight by far. I don't really think there's a comparison. If you're just comparing tonight, Baker Mayfield was the best quarterback, if not the best player on the field. So I definitely agree that he should have probably started earlier. But sometimes there's the situations where you're like, maybe we don't want his first experience being this, because you play in the huge rainstorm. Your receivers tip passes up in the air and you throw 3, 4, 5 interceptions. That might shoot your confidence a little bit. So, but if it was just say perfect conditions, maybe, you know what, I would consider starting him. That's the one thing. Like, the Browns brought in talent, so it's not like he's throwing to bum wide receivers. There's some talented playmakers, and in the backfield, there's guys he can turn around and give the ball to. There's big tight ends that they need to get involved more. But he is in a situation that's definitely better than, I would say, better than Rosen, better than Darnold, better than Allen. I would say probably Lamar Jackson's only first-round quarterback that has a better situation than him right now. And even then, that's kind of iffy. That, in my opinion, I think it's fairly equal.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to throw the stat out there. So the Browns, yes, they got their win. Yes, they won their first game in like 2 years. They still haven't won a Sunday game since 2015.
Oh, was that a Monday night game against San Diego?
I think they both were on Thursday. Like, this game and the other game were both on Thursdays. That's one of Dilly Vanilli's classic stats. I just wanted to throw it out there. Let's get to the chat. So Booster Pack says, yeah, Browns. Whammo Justice says, go Baker. I wonder if Colin Cowherd will break up with a thick, trunky kid now.
Okay.
You never heard that before? Colin Cowherd always calls Sam Darnold the thick, trunky kid from California.
Honestly, I don't think it ever kind of clicked like that he was saying that, but like thinking back,
I just see it because whenever I watch his videos, people comment below like funny things in regards to that.
He typically gets roasted.
Whammo says, happiest I've been in 5 years as a Browns fan. We can stop talking about why Baker Mayfield was pick number 1 now. Haters, because he just showed you. Mike, thoughts on that?
Is that Brandon Painter? Is that
It could be. It could be, possibly.
Go Browns.
I don't know many Browns fans myself.
That was
but the one I do know is pretty diehard. So.
Oh yeah, like I'm just thinking of that one playoff year when they went 10-6. I think it was.
I don't even think they made the playoffs.
They did. They were either like the seventh seed or
the team that like missed, and they're. I feel like they were 10-6 and they missed the playoff.
I remember them going 10-6, but geez, were they the wild card? I gotta look this up. I gotta check the stats on this right now. But it was like Derek Anderson was a quarterback that year.
That was 07.
07? So I think they would have been the 7th seed
07.
then.
It might have been 08 or
I'm
06.
just searching 10-6 Browns because that's only happened once. Yeah, it was 2007. And
I don't know who looks dumber now, Hugh Jackson or Colin Cowherd, but I'm happy. I'm just happy. It's only been one game, bro, but I mean, you deserve to be happy. Eric Johnson says, haircut? Yes, haircut.
I would say this is probably, if you're a Browns fan, this is probably the happiest you should be since they came back in 99. Like, honestly, this team has young, talented stars. Oh, yeah. They have more potential now than they ever had.
And more potential than Pittsburgh.
And New England.
Probably true. Deshaun Drakeford says, hey, Mitchell, what's going on, man? Brownies, everybody's excited for the Browns. I saw one tweet, and it was like a Jets fan, and he's like, wow, everybody's rooting against my team. It almost feels like I'm a Patriots fan today. That was funny.
Too good.
Mayfield is the best Browns quarterback, says Deshaun. We won, says Light Show. We won. Bodo says, when we lose Monday, we will be in the running for #1 pick. How do you feel about that, Mac? Or Beck? What?
How dare you? No, Fitz Magic, maybe. I don't know. The only thing that I have confidence in is his stats on like the feature Sunday, Thursday, or Monday night games. Like his stats are actually like out of this world. He plays better in prime time, so that gives me a little bit of confidence heading in.
And maybe again, Ben has played well.
Yeah, he still played well, but like people are still trashing him a little bit for that first game. But even me, the way I spoke there, but still, he's been decent through 2 games already. But they need some Monday Night Magic against a defense that I don't think is that good. So hopefully the weather holds out and the Steelers get a win and they don't implode. And they don't stay in 4th place of the AFC North as they sit right now. My
first
pick
place
to win the AFC
is the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Max says Baker Mayfield played beautifully. We definitely agree. Deception says Darnold and Baker are good. Allen is a bust. Oh, that's a classic comment. I guess we'll see. I don't know. Time will tell. Same route as the Cavs 2016 parade, says John Dubb.
Nice.
Let's not forget to give a few kudos to Landry and Hyde as well, says Whammo. Well, we definitely did.
No, well, shout out Joel Bitonio for picking up that fumble, even though it came back.
Oh my God, that was an electrifying 9-yard run.
The thing is, Coach Bob Wiley probably chewed him out for that. Like, for every O-line coach I've ever had, if an O-lineman didn't fall on a fumble and try to pick it up and run, he would get harassed. It'd be like, you are not an athlete following the ball. But still, it made me happy as a retired offensive lineman. That just gets me going. That just sets the fire. That was an awesome play. Shout out Joel Bitonio.
That reminds me of Dan Connolly.
That was an incredible play, too. When he caught it, I was like, I'll probably just fall over. Oh, my God, he makes it to the 3-yard line.
Bodo says, wow, Landry is a good receiver. Miami, the team where receivers go to die. That's actually becoming a thing.
At Mike Wallace. At so many people.
Angelo says, missed the game, so basically is Mayfield really looking good? You can explain it.
Yes. He looks very good.
The coach, Derek Milani, says Mayfield, character, compete level, skill. Okay. A bunch of more Colin Cowherd comments. Michael Grant says, if you're the Steelers, does the fact that you didn't score that many points on the What? If you're the Steelers, does the fact that you didn't score that many more points on the Browns than the Jets?
Well, here's the thing. That game was in a monsoon, and clearly there's so many fumbles and turnovers the Steelers got in the red zone a lot. So I'm not really too concerned about that game. Sometimes when the weather gets so extreme, like here's a reference that only Canadians might understand if you watch CFL football. Calgary Stampeders have been the absolute best team in the CFL the last 2 years, the best record by far, and they typically play a team that sits around 500 in the Grey Cup. But the game's so freaking cold, and there's so much snow on the ground that it doesn't matter. They lost a Grey Cup both times, even though they've been hands down the best team in the field and beat those same teams by 50 points in the regular season. Sometimes when there's those weather issues, yes, it affects both teams, but when it's so bad, it's just a coin flip sometimes. It really doesn't matter who's on the field. It's just inclement weather creates challenges for both teams and really kind of just throws skill out of the window, and it becomes a game of luck. That's kind of what it boiled down to there.
Whammo says, love to all the Cleveland fans. We deserve this one. So Cleveland fans, shout out to you guys. You guys definitely deserve it. Rob says, I think the Browns will win 4 or 5 games this year. Another Mitch with the haircut comment. Dez says, you think Buccaneers versus Jaguars could be a Super Bowl matchup? Maybe half of that. And I'm not telling you which team. I'm just going to say it. The Browns are going to the Super Bowl, says John Dubb.
Oh, no, not ready.
Callaway sleeper pick, says Michael. Demario Davis.
Yeah, Demario Davis. I looked it up.
OG Mitch Spittin' Facts says Ice Wallow. Nice. I bet Jim Brown's jumping up and down if he has the capability of doing so, possibly.
I bet he's sitting where he is, just being somewhat happy and grumpy.
This is a good question by Bodo. Will you take the Browns in an elimination pool this year? Probably not.
No, it's still too early.
Oh my God, still lots of comments. Okay. Best offensive lines from Ultra. Let's see if you agree with that. Eagles, Rams, Falcons, Jaguars, Chiefs, Saints, Buccaneers. I don't agree with the Chiefs or Buccaneers.
No, not at all. Although I am a big fan of our Canadian Laurent Duvernay-Tardif on the Chiefs offensive line.
And I would throw in the Steelers.
And even though the Cowboys have a lot of injury problems.
I think the Patriots offensive line's better than the...
No, if that was in order, I totally disagree. Steelers have a top 5 offensive line for sure. Eagles have a great line. Oh, go ahead.
My top 5 would be Eagles, Jags, Steelers, Saints, Rams, probably.
Yeah, that's probably a good combination. I'd say the Colts are a quick rising team with Quentin Nelson. He's going to probably take over the mantle of top guard in the league. He is, again, I will probably watch him for the first time, the full game this Sunday. So if you want to follow me, while I live tweet that game at Michael Beck, BCIT on Twitter, I'm looking forward. That's a cheap plug. But still, there's some good quality offensive linemen in this league. As long as you're not a Seahawks fan, you're probably watching good offensive line play.
Rob says fact or fiction, Josh Rosen plays this week. Fiction. Wouldn't they have named that by now?
Yeah, no, it's too late. Thursday. It's already Thursday. You name your starting quarterback early in the week.
Ultra asks, do you guys know who the top 5 fantasy quarterbacks in points in week 2 were? My guess would be
Mahomes.
In no order. Mahomes, Roethlisberger, Fitzpatrick, Cousins, and Bortles.
Yeah, Bortles had 4 touchdowns, right? No interceptions.
That would be my guess. Let me know if I'm right.
Did Rodgers just threw 1 pick, right? If I recall correctly, in that Vikings game. So he'd be close too, but Cousins, I think he had more statistical advantages over Rodgers in that one. I believe I would assume you're right there.
Dame Time says, what's up, Mitch? Don't think I forgot about what you said. Jared Goff I'll be back in a couple weeks, bro. Okay.
I think our opinions on Goff will always be the same until he does something incredible.
It's tough. Like, until he doesn't have Sean McVay as his coach, I can't really give you the opinion. So,
it won't be long because they won't be able to afford him when he.
You know what was funny was the Browns cheering their kicker.
That was incredible. Like during the PAT, especially the last PAT, if you're watching, I was only watching the crowd because the whole game everyone was getting hyped. But that kick, everyone's arms were in the air and they were screaming, jumping up and down. It was an incredible sight. That was something that got me pretty fired up too. It's like, oh my god, they're cheering on the kicker, who honestly wasn't that good despite hitting all his kicks. They were all like just brushing the inside of the posts. But still, that was incredible seeing all the fans losing their minds over a kicker.
Ultra gave us $3.99. Thank you, Ultra. All right. I think we're going to end it there. Mike, any final thoughts on this game and anything going forward with either team?
Well, I think I said it all. Baker Mayfield looks good. He might storm straight into that offensive rookie of the year. If I'm just going to say he's going to start the rest of the year. There's no way Taylor's coming back after that.
Unless Baker gets hurt, which I hope
that's really what that boils down to. But much like last year with the Saints winning both offense and defense rookie of the year, I think the Browns right now are probably leading both categories again with Mayfield and Ward. That's probably how it goes down if the awards were only 3 weeks in. But we got a great week of football lined up. Again, you can follow me along on Twitter. I'll be talking about college football on Saturday and a whole bunch of NFL football Sunday. So we'll break that down. Michael Beck, BCIT. Go ahead and follow that. Appreciate that, Mitch, for the cheap pop.
And I guess I'll put it in the description because you're starting to come on more. So only regulars get to put their name in the description and stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed. From Mike and Mitch of The Bottom Line View. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we'll see ya for the next few videos coming out. Fantasy start and sit 'em should be out tomorrow. Maybe Saturday. I'm hoping for tomorrow. And then we also have 2 streams, Sunday and Monday. We're doing Steelers, Tampa Bay Bucks live. And we're doing Falcons versus Saints. So go check those out. And again, from us, peace out.